Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast on this special Christmas edition. Aaron, Quinn, how we doing?
I'm doing great, man. I love Christmas, so that's keeping me going. The game, we're talking about it here a little bit before we went live, very apathetic. I haven't experienced this really much in my adult life of a game doesn't matter, but not in the sense that it doesn't matter because our season ended 2 weeks ago, but our season the postseason hasn't started and we're already locked in. So a very apathetic game. Going to be hard to discuss this one with you. Luckily, it's a team that we know pretty well.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird one. I'm not used to this. Like you said, this is literally the first time in our adult lives that the Bills have locked up a playoff spot early, and they're going to play the Jets, and it's at home. And Vegas understands the Bills are a 1.5 point favorite in this game. So, I think pretty sure that means Vegas is banking on 2+ quarters of Matt Barkley, probably no Devin Singletary. We talked about it pregame. Sean McDermott, this coaching staff, this roster, this entire locker room are not going to not show up. Like, they're going to show up. They're going to play. For any fans that are trying to figure out how this works, you still have to have a 46-man game day roster. We have a 53-man roster, so only 7 guys can sit. A handful of those are legitimate injuries. Obviously, guys like Mitch Morris, guys like Ty Nsekhe, guys like Shaq Lawson, anyone who had any ding or minor injury is going to sit. You're going to rest them legitimately. Right. You still need to have an emergency quarterback. So I actually expect Josh to start and maybe play a quarter. I won't be shocked if Matt Barkley just straight up gets the start, but obviously Josh is not going to play the whole game. I think Singletary is a guy who could rest, but you can only sit so many guys. You need 30 guys to play the snaps of a game. You still need your special teamers to play. You still need enough wide receivers to run routes. Like, we're going to have NFL caliber guys on the field.
Yeah, I would expect Singletary, actually. I think he'll get some touches. I think he's a young enough guy that they would like to keep going here throughout this week. There's cases to be made on both sides of this. Do you sit guys? Do you play guys? And there's obviously a higher risk of injury if you're playing, but there's a lot of people in the NFL world that think injuries are going to happen when they happen. Sitting them doesn't matter. That's why you see guys play longer in the preseason than maybe they should. Or there's that debate that time of year too. So I'm not sure that injuries are necessarily going to stop Sean McDermott. Some of your key players, I think, Josh Allen, you really want to keep from injury, but I think they want to keep younger guys going outside of Josh Allen. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some of your younger star players that everybody thinks should be resting. I think you'll see them getting some burn. And if you look at the Bills special teams on a lot of those kickoffs and stuff, even their special teams units are made up with starters. You see Jordan Poyer out there. You see Matt Milano out there on some of the coverage stuff. So these guys are going to get some snaps. It's just a matter of how do you control the snaps throughout the game and who do you decide to sit? Because like you said, you can really only have 7 not playing, but you have Josh Allen out there, man. He's 1 snap away from playing no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, let's use the inactive list as a good example. So this past game, only 1 was inactive due to injury, Ty Nsekhe. Right. I expect that to be there again. So even if we say the other 6 find their way into the game, Dean Marlowe was 1. Let's say he plays and they give Micah Hyde a rest. Let's say Ike Botger plays and they give Quentin Spain or John Feliciano a rest. Duke Williams can play and you can let a John Brown get a veteran day. You can let Tommy Sweeney play and probably let Lee Smith sit because you probably want a little more reps for Croft. But even if it is Croft or Knox, you're still talking about 2 of the other 3 are still active. Vincent Taylor could play and you could let Starr sit. That's it. Everybody else is still active. So even then, if you flip around and say, okay, Darryl Johnson gets more reps than Jerry Hughes, there's no other defensive ends. So Shaq Lawson and Trent Murphy are still playing.
Right.
You don't have any other defensive tackles. So say Corey Lugitt plays more snaps. Ed Oliver and Jordan Phillips still got to play, even if one of them sits. So whether it's, say, Phillips sits and Starr gets more reps.
Yeah.
They still
Cornerback, he gets really
30 snaps.
Defensive back gets real hairy out here. Yeah. Levi Wallace and Kevin Johnson are going to play in this game.
There isn't anybody else
in this game. There's nobody else. Trey White, I'd like to not see out there after what happened to him last week when he railed somebody with a hit. He's a guy that I would be fearful in the same breath of a Josh Allen or maybe a Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano.
Even if
that
you
if they go out, that hurts our chances against the Texans substantially. But
yeah.
other guys have to play. They have to. There's no depth behind them that can come up without messing up the roster.
Yeah, and again, we don't mean no depth in a slight to Brandon Beane. Just, hey, the mechanics of how a football team is built, you only have 8 DBs, and 5 of them play on almost every snap. So there's only so many guys who can sit as it is. The same thing, offensive linemen. We dress 7 offensive linemen. So let's say that we let Ryan Bates and Spencer Long get reps. It's going to be fine. It's going to be able to work out just easily.
It'd be nice if Ty Nsekhe throughout this week is good enough to play. Like, they would play him if this game mattered. I wouldn't mind seeing him get some of those reps. We saw him kind of splitting reps all throughout the season as was. So I wouldn't mind that, though, if he is good enough to play. I don't think he is. And I'm not even sure. He's one of those injuries that I think the doctors weren't sure how long he'd heal, so they said, let's keep him in case he does. In case, who knows how far we'll get in the playoffs, but we might not even see him in the first round of the playoffs. It doesn't seem like he's made any progression towards trying. Did I lose you?
No, I'm okay. Oh. It's going to be interesting to see some of the choices they make. And again, I think obviously, again, Vegas is kind of in on that. It's a 1.5 point spread, 37 point over under. I don't expect it to be a terribly highly regarded game. I think people are still going to watch. I actually kind of like the idea of a Matt Barkley, Duke Williams, TJ Yeldon team, sticking it to Adam Gase and the Jets in the last game of the season.
Right.
I do think there's something to the psyche of not wanting to come in on 2 losses, even if one of them doesn't count. I like the idea of coming back there, closing out the season on a win at home. And again, regardless of who's playing on the field, the players who are on the field are 100% focused and dedicated on winning. They are 100%, playing with a real game plan, trying to be able to address it, even if it's somewhat vanilla. We're not like whipping out, crazy trick plays and stuff like that. But, they're going to run a real offense. They're going to be focused on it. And our coaching staff is only going to try to win.
Yeah. No, some people were knocking Leslie Frazier today for saying that he hadn't looked ahead. He's not looking ahead right now to the Texans for the game planning purposes. And people are saying they didn't believe him. I totally believe him. One, you have a staff that specializes in getting you ready week in and week out so that you can focus on the employee or the opponent at hand. And they are trying to win this game. They want to put these players in a position to succeed. They don't want these guys are going out there. It's their livelihood, and the coaches understand that. And guys are putting film out there that don't get a chance to. There's a lot of positivity baked into an opportunity like this not from a fan perspective, because it could be a really boring game and an ugly game, but from a coaching perspective, from a development standpoint, there's guys that haven't gotten a lot of snap percentages or snap counts in a real live NFL regular season football game that matters to the teams. It's all been in preseason and stuff like that. So this is good opportunity for some of these younger guys that are maybe if they don't play a ton or aren't a starter, they're going to get some snap time here. And that's a great opportunity to learn. So from that standpoint, there's a lot on the line for the players in the locker room. If they're called upon in the playoffs, they've got some recent playing experience, just their general development of getting playing time. Those things are huge for these guys. And from that point, I'm happy to see it, but yeah. And don't think for a minute that Sean McDermott's not preaching even to the guys, if it's going to be Matt Barkley, of what a win would mean and the kind of shit talking, I guess you could say, that they can do to a division rival. They want to beat this division rival no matter what. The coaching staff, the players, it's just at the end of the day, they're going to be realistic in how they manage it.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I don't mind it from an evaluation standpoint. We have some choices to be made on are Julian Stanford and Corey Thompson the depth that we need? Can either one of them step up to replace Lorenzo Alexander? Do we bring Ryan Bates back? Is Spencer Long a legitimate alternative to Quentin Spain if we don't re-sign him? There's guys that we have some decisions to make here that, hey, having a full game of real regular season NFL reps on tape is valuable and that we can utilize that. So there's everything has a purpose and is able to be utilized for some level of competitive advantage. And I'm looking forward to seeing that, even if it's not the most competitive or most important game. And then we can kind of figure out where that falls the rest of the way.
It'll be competitive, I think, from the Jets standpoint. And that's what bothers me about this game, slightly concerns me about this game, is even if I think the Bills were fully healthy, the Jets record isn't necessarily indicative how tough they could play us in a game that matters. They are pesky enough and they have enough playmakers on both sides of the ball to be one of those teams that does upset you. I tweeted out earlier the amount of anxiety I would have had this week if this was a win and in week 17. This was it, because I do think it's a pesky team. Division games are really freaky. Teams their records don't matter as much when you're playing in division win. It's hard to play a team twice. So I'm glad all that's out of the way, because I do think the Jets are going to come out playing same thing on their side of the ball. We see it every year as Bills fans, that even though the season's over, there's guys doing the same thing, trying to put tape out there. They're trying to end the season on a win. They're trying to get things going there. And as much as there's dysfunction in New York and Gase isn't a great coach, they're still professional athletes. They've beat decent teams at points this year. They've walloped teams that we barely beat at points this year. So they've got something and they can turn it on at any point. So this game is kind of annoying from that standpoint, that the Jets are just pesky enough that I think a lot of fans out there think if we can roll in there with Barkley and just beat them by multiple points, and I don't think that's going to be there. I think it's going to be a annoyingly close game.
Well, and I think that because of the madness of Adam Gase and just us as Bills fans not liking the Jets, that I think we dismiss them as some garbage team and that they're the same as the Bengals and the Redskins.
Right.
They have the same record as the Falcons, the Browns, the Broncos. They have a better record than the Cardinals and the Chargers and the Panthers. They're not a great team, but they're not trash. Like they've lost quite a few one-score, close games that if they hadn't have gotten off to such an ugly 0-4 start and 1-7, that I think we remember that part of the season versus the fact that, hey, they've actually won 4 of the last 6 and have actually or 5 of the last 7 and have played pretty well here recently. So it's, they have some embarrassing losses. They gave the Bengals their first win of the season. They gave the Dolphins their first win of the season, but they've also come out here and wallop the Raiders, like you said, 34-3. That's a legit win. They beat the Steelers pretty much the same score that we did.
Right.
They beat the Cowboys. They have some they have some legitimate wins. So I agree. I'm glad this game doesn't matter and that we don't have to worry about it. But it is a game that I think is going to give them some legitimate tape on some guys here. I like that we get to be selective on who plays and who gets snaps, and that we can address that from that standpoint. So just speaking to that point real quickly here, the scenarios are pretty much narrowed down. We only have 2 options. The Bills are going to be playing at Houston or at Kansas City. It is Kansas City simply needs a win or a Houston loss to lock up the 3rd seed. They actually can move up to the 2nd seed if the Patriots were to lose to the Dolphins and the Chiefs were to win. So there's a couple fun things that way. If the Texans beat the Titans and the Chiefs win their game against the Chargers, they stay where they are and we go to Houston. So I think most likely scenarios are the Bills are going to go to Houston, but the Texans winning and the Chiefs losing to the Chargers isn't crazy. I mean, that is feasible. Right. So there is some drama to watch for, and we'll know that at the same time as the Bills game, because the Chargers and Chiefs go off at 1:00 as well. And then we'll get a chance to probably do some scouting and watch that Titans-Texans game to see who gets in from that standpoint, and be able to watch the Texans get ready. And I'm glad they're
playing all their starters.
Yeah, they have to play a full game, so we actually get some legitimate reps and get the advantage of maybe having an extra week's rest on the Titans.
Yeah, and I do think the rest of the AFC probably is in the camp of wanting Houston to win. I don't think anyone wants the Titans getting into the playoffs. I think if the Titans get into playoffs, this rounds out one of the more competitive AFC postseasons I've seen in a long time, that I don't want to play against any of those teams right now. They all present big challenges that I don't want to deal with.
I absolutely want to see the Titans make it, just to give the Chiefs a good match. I want the Chiefs to be able to, be tested, or to be able to go in and beat the Patriots. The Bills' path right now looks like it's going to be the Texans, and then if they win, they'd go to Baltimore, which obviously I think any team is going to struggle with. I think the Ravens are going to be favored in every game they play the rest of the way, and that they're there, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I think that having the chance to look at something like that's exciting, and that at least we have something to look forward to from that standpoint.
Yeah, and I want to touch on one kind of last thing before we wrap anything up. Is you had talked about the takeaways from a game like this, and I think one of the most fun things for me to take away from this is how does Sean McDermott handle this scenario where your team's in. He hasn't given his hand in the media. He's kind of saying he's still going through that process. I think it's going to be nice to lay that blueprint for how Sean McDermott handles it in the future. As we go to the playoffs for 10 consecutive seasons here, I want to know what he's going to do every season when we've already clinched. And it's a fun thing to talk about. It's a fun thing to know about a coach in Buffalo, because who's the last coach you even had to know that about?
Yeah, literally Marv. That's it.
Wade
not
Phillips.
Even the last one. Maybe the only one.
Because he was Wade Phillips. That probably did that come down to the last game?
It didn't, because that actually came up the reason that the last double-digit win season was 99, but they actually needed to win in week 17 plus another thing to happen to lock up a playoff spot. That's why the last early clinch was 26 years back in 93.
Right.
So we literally haven't had this problem since the Super Bowl run.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, not that I don't believe in Santa Claus, but I'm pretty sure I was still super believing in Santa Claus the last time that happened.
Yeah, even more so. Even more so. So, just some fun things to be able to look for. This is a fun week to have as a Bills fan, just to be able to casually watch football and kind of get prepped and ready. We'll find out. I think it's most likely that the Bills are going to be the Saturday playoff game. I think if the Titans win, it helps a little bit, because I think that from a fan base and TV market standpoint, Steelers Chiefs is has a little more sizzle than Titans Chiefs. So if it's Titans Chiefs, I don't think it's crazy that they could put Bills Texans on the Sunday primetime slot for wildcard weekend, which would be pretty crazy. To be able to have that Sunday 4 p.m. window. I think it's most likely we're going to have the early slate on Saturday, but we'll find that out pretty quickly after these games wrap up. I think we'll probably know that Sunday night when this game's going to happen.
Yeah, I hope we don't go into any of the primetime slots. All eyes are going to be on the playoffs no matter what, so there's always that anxiety of that as a fan. But yeah, man, we've had a wonky past month of football times and games and being flexed and all that stuff. I just want to get back to my normal football watching experience. 1 o'clock's on Sundays. Give me that forever until we get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree. The Super Bowl is going to be fun. Just looking at it, just some things to watch for. We'll kind of keep an eye on how those things are rolling out. So again, you got the Bills playing the Jets here at 1 o'clock. Expect a lot of Bills starters to be sitting, or at least getting rest and less reps than normal. Jets seem like they're going to be full go. Again, Vegas has that as a Bills 1.5 point favorite at home, which is much lower than it would have been. We probably would have been closer to a 6.5 or 7 point favorite in a full go game. Is 37 point under. They're not expecting a lot, probably a little bit sloppier with some guys who haven't played full go, but as Aaron said, interesting to see how McDermott treats this game and the coaching staff. As we're watching, you have the Bills' choice of their most likely candidate to play is the Texans. They'll be hosting the Titans. If they win and the Chiefs lose to the Chargers, they would leapfrog and go to the 3 seed, and the Bills would go and play at Arrowhead with Kansas City. If Kansas City wins or the Texans lose to the Titans, the Bills will go to Houston and play there at Reliant Stadium in that first playoff game. So a lot of fun things to watch for, a lot of good things this weekend. Aaron, what are the things you're going to be watching for as we close out?
I think the thing that I'm most excited to see, because we're not going to have anybody play for him, is to get Steven Hauschka nice and warmed up. I'd love to see just a day full of field goal kicks and get him going, get him nice and hot heading into the playoffs. I think that out of the players that are going to get hot from this game or build any type of momentum into the playoffs, that might be the only one that has like a realistic thing to it, because I think guys know what's on the line as far as the regular non-specialists of this game. So even though there's that we talked about that they're going to come out and play, everyone's going to try to win, but I think ultimately they know they can dial it back a little bit in this game. But Steven Hauschka, I think I'd love to see him get hot as we go into the playoffs, because that's one of my biggest fears heading into the playoffs is the inconsistency he's shown all year long.
Yeah. There's a couple things that would be a nice one. I think I've convinced myself that Andre Roberts has been so close all season that he's going to take the opening kickoff of the playoffs back for a
Eh,
touchdown. So I don't want to waste that here against the Jets, even though this is kind of a Andre Roberts revenge game. So
right.
we'll see. We'll let him get some reps at wide receiver while Cole Beasley and John Brown are getting some rest. He can get his revenge there, and then we'll
Right.
save him for back breaking punt or kick return for a touchdown in the playoffs.
I
But
like that.
for everybody listening, shoot us some ideas for bets as we go through the weekend here. This will be a fun one to have some crazy bets. I don't think we know quite enough about the game and who's going to play yet to put any out there. Aaron and I are super close, so we'll be running this all the way through, hopefully 3 or 4 more games of the season. But I think I got them by 3 points right now.
Yeah.
So we need a final stretch here. We'll have a couple bets going into this week, and then obviously some good ones going into the playoff game as we get things wrapped up. So shoot those over to us in the premium Slack channel or in the on our Twitter feeds. Speaking of which, where can the people find you?
You can find me throwing haymakers at anyone that wants to come at Josh
Today was
Allen,
so entertaining.
Oh my God. I over at Aaron Quinn 716 defending Josh Allen as a QB you can win with that has a lot of flaws. That's my defense, and I will fight that to the death. I'm dying on that hill.
I love it. You were fighting the good fight today and doing us all proud. I was scrolling through it while I was pressing buttons on the slot machine at the casino today, and it was very entertaining.
Good. I'm glad I entertained somebody.
You guys can come find me at Greg Thompson, GregTompsett, having a good time, enjoying myself, getting into some weird debates with other teams' fans, as I call the Patriots cheaters. But it's been an entertaining day myself. So come on over, have some fun with us. If you have a chance, check us out at cover1.net. A lot of good things going on over there. Check out the premium subscription. Eric's running an awesome special right now, $10 for the whole year. It's literally like 2.7 cents a day. So come on over. There's so many silly things you can waste $10 on. This is just an awesome community. The guys in the chat are fantastic all the time, bringing in great discussion, constantly talking about who the potential free agents are from other teams. We have an awesome draft prospect channel, all kinds of really great things going on. So it's a great community. Whatever you're into, we have a special niche for each of those different pockets, talking about the Bills as well as our general chats. My favorite place in the world on game day to be able to watch with everybody. So come on over, check us out, sign up for the premium subscription, jump in the Slack channel, be able to hang out with us and talk Bills football at another level. So thanks for everything tonight. Aaron, Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Man.
Thank you for everything. To everybody listening here, hope you have a happy holiday and enjoy time with your family and friends. We will talk to you guys soon. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.